thank you everyone for joining us today to this webinar on Rwanda challenges and options in the energy sector. Special thanks to all our panelists, to Giselle, Bamundekere, to Honorable Dr. Frank Habineza, and to Kai Schmidt-Soltau. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. So we just have 1 hour. All of you who are listening, you can ask questions whenever you want. If you want to direct your question to one of our panelists, please mention the name, and we'll answer them for you. I just want us to start straight away. Honorable, if you allow me, I want to start with you. Okay, thank you. The African Development Bank, in the Rwanda energy sector review, an action plan a decade ago in 2013, I think, said this: Rwanda recognized that the availability of efficient and renewable energy supply is a prerequisite for social prosperity, human development, and economic growth. So my question to you is, what are the options the country has in the energy sector that are reliable and efficient?
Yes, thank you very much. I think the statement from the... first of all, I would like to thank you so much for inviting me to this panel, and thank you all other panelists for this occasion. Yeah, to answer your question, I was saying that the statement from the African Development Bank is valid, because without proper energy, then we cannot have either social, economic, or political development, because everything relies on energy sector. I mean, like, we do need energy for running our industries. We do energy to light our houses. We do need energy to run the hospitals. We need energy for the tea factories, coffee factories. We need energy in almost in everything, even the buses, because in Rwanda we have, I think, maybe to be more precise, 3 types, I think, or categories of the energy that we are using. So we do have the petroleum products, and then we also have biomass, and then also have, of recent, we do have also methane gas, which we are mining from the Lake Kivu. And so there are different challenges, and of course there are different opportunities available. We have challenges, of course, in access, distribution, and so on. But I'll start with electricity before I go into petroleum and biomass. Electricity is like what we are using in Rwanda. We do electricity generation. We do have some power stations that generate electricity, and but it's not enough for us. So we do import some coming from neighboring countries. However, of recent, there have been a lot of efforts from the government to encourage the private sector to generate electricity. So we do have a lot of small power stations around the country. And late last year, the government of Rwanda, under the agency, they have 2 agencies called Rwanda Energy Group. They have mentioned that we do have excess. So before we did not have enough, but right now we do have excess. So there's a new challenge that we do have at the moment, that we have produced too much electricity, which we are not able to use, and they're looking for a market to see where it can be exported to. Even though they are having other big programs, because we're having a program to have electricity from Rusumo Forest Dam, which we share with Tanzania and Burundi. Those are ongoing projects, but what we have already is we have excess. But does not mean that everyone has electricity. It means that that's the on-grid. The government cannot afford to buy all the produced electricity and give it to the people. So we have a big challenge of off-grid, where the most, because we are sparsely also populated. I mean, not sparsely. We are populated, but not everyone is staying in towns. So there are people staying in the hills, across the country, where there are no proper infrastructure to connect them with electricity. And there we need to have solar energy to reach them, because the normal on-grid cannot reach them. So there have been some investment in solar energy recent, and some companies have been trying to provide small solar panels to people, and there are some loans being given to them they pay maybe by 1 year they can have paid about that, maybe it's cost about $200 or $100. So I would say that we still have a challenge of off-grid. It's not yet reaching everywhere. Though we have produced too much, but we cannot. It's too much which cannot be consumed by the existing population on the on-grid. So maybe that's one on electricity. However, we also have how do we call it? Not methane. We've been producing electricity using, it's called thermal electricity, using generators. They get oil and they burn it and to run some other factories or some other industries. So some years ago, we were relying so much on that, but now that has reduced, but we're still using that here. So again, I'll go to biomass. Biomass, I would say that this is the most widely used in the country because most people in the rural areas, they're relying on wood to cook their food. And even now we in the city, we are using charcoal. I don't know if you know charcoal. They have to get wood and yes, it's like coal. so basically wood is widely used, and it's a big problem because the recent studies have shown that it's not reliable. You cannot have enough forests to cut and to cut them and then use it for cooking and whatever. So basically,
I just want to ask a question about energy transition. Do you have a policy for energy transition in Rwanda to move away from, options that pollute the environment to more renewable options? Can you talk a bit more about that? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's energy transition. Our recent, after we saw that we have a big challenge on wood, which everyone is relying on. So the government has been promoting usage of gas, this LPG gas for cooking. And they have tried to put in small different sizes so that people can afford that. And and also in big consumption places like prisons, they're using biogas. So they use biogas from the toilets and from other areas, but also we have been trying to promote biogas to the rural areas. People have cattle, cows, they can use cow dung and water to make biogas there. So this has been a part of the energy transition so that we cannot rely only on wood, because electricity is quite expensive. If you cannot want to cook, it's quite expensive to use electricity for cooking and everything else. So gas is good, but now the challenge at the moment is that the gas prices are so high, also because of the war in Ukraine and Russia. Gas is becoming now unaffordable at the moment here by the policies there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
yes, on the petroleum side, also it's a challenge because we use a lot of petroleum products, but we're importing them. We don't, of course, have petrol here in Rwanda ourselves, or oil products here. We have to bring them from I think, mostly from Middle East here. It comes from Middle East here, not even from Africa. So there's a problem of the fluctuation of prices. They're always changing, and that's a challenge we have as well.
All right. Thank you so much for this insight, Honorable. I'm learning quite a lot when it comes to options that you have in Rwanda. I will move on now to Giselle. Giselle, I just want you to expand more on the challenges, that in the energy sector in Rwanda currently. I know already about you cover the cost, so I want you to expand more on the challenges, especially when it comes to the rural population. Giselle. Giselle, can you hear me?
She hasn't unmuted. She has to unmute.
I think, Giselle, you should unmute yourself, please.
Now it is unmuted. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on this webinar. So, and to add on what Honorable Frank talked about, Rwanda energy sector is facing challenges as any other country in the world. Climate change, massive urbanization, all those challenges, the pandemic, as the pandemic has affected the energy sector significantly. And also, as the minister said, as the Honorable Frank says, there is this war between Russia and Ukraine. So Rwanda is doing its best
Absolutely.
to the goal of universal energy access, and also is trying to mitigate this climate change. But considering all those obstacles, it is not easy. I can say it is not easy. So focusing on rural areas, first, Rwanda is a hilly country, which is quite difficult for extending the grids. That's quite difficult for you to discuss.
I think.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. And also, the government of Rwanda has tried to do what we call a national electrification plan.
I think
that helped grow. A national electrification plan that helped to know. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're having a lot of interruption. I think the connection is not as best, but please go ahead.
Yes, I was talking about national electrification plan that helps after doing more energy modeling to see how we can electrify the whole country to achieve the goal of by 2024. Now the country is divided into places where to be electrified by grid, where the place will be electrified by off-grid using the mini grid or solar home systems as a part of off-grid side. So that is in place, but still we have the challenge of hills, infrastructure like roads. Sometimes some places are not quite accessible. That's an issue. And also another challenge is the purchasing the purchasing power. You see that in rural areas, people are still not capable to buy some system. As the Honorable said, a system by kind of 100 to 200 US$. That is not easy for them to afford such a system. So that's another challenge that
Giselle, we are having a lot of interruption. I think what Giselle, yeah, okay. We are having a lot of interruption. I think what you, Giselle, meant to say is that electricity remain unaffordable, especially to people in a rural area. Kai, I just want you to come in at the moment, at this point, and try and give us, as an expert, somebody who knows the Rwanda, energy sector, what option do the rural area has, or what option the government has that they can put in place to to make sure people in the rural area have affordable electricity. Kai?
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe just one small clarification. I'm a consultant, so I'm not speaking on behalf of REC. No, so just to make sure that REC can only speak on behalf of REC, but I'm a consultant which obviously know the situation quite well on the ground. And thank you very much for inviting me to the panel and for those very good questions. And I think Rwanda is doing quite a good move towards more renewable energies, which are then also more affordable, like hydro, and for example, no? Because as the Honorable and Giselle somehow mentioned, some of the older energy sources like heavy fuel, gas, or oil are very expensive because they're not found in the country and they need to be brought to the country at quite high cost, and obviously are then resulting in quite high energy costs. No? And with the large amount of hydropower potentials in Rwanda, obviously that is in the long run reducing the energy cost or the potential for energy costs, and also is a very good way to store in the end other renewable energies, for example, from solar or from wind, if somehow one is going into that direction, because then you can then use the hydropower stations to store energy produced, for example, from solar during the days. You can store them in the hydropower station by just pumping water up and then you can release them during the night when you have some more peak needs for local consumption, for example, no? For energy. So by that move, obviously, that is a way to capture quite a lot of the population, which is then connected to the grid. But since the population pattern and some of the settlement patterns are quite often or leading to small settlements or settlements which are a bit remote from the main axis, obviously then this idea of bringing in independent power producers, small hydro, small solar, is I think a very good opportunity somehow to provide then energy really to everybody there, no? Because it's then when it is, for example, quite expensive to bring them in
solar
to an area.
Yeah. Hmm? Solar technologies the price remain quite high, for the average Rwandan, especially those in the rural area. I know we spoke of great option, but what really option do they have, that can help them have affordable electricity or affordable and clean power?
No, I mean, obviously it's still a process, and somehow, since everything has to be still brought into the country as produced mostly in China, the solar panels, the prices are still comparable, quite high. And obviously with that could be another opportunity. I mean, with all the technology coming up in Rwanda, to have then actually in-country producers of solar panels, and I think you could reduce the cost quite a bit there, no? But obviously it's still a way to go. But I agree with you. At the moment, the cost for solar panels is still quite high, and sometimes then even the small scale hydro is actually cheaper. The small run over the river things, no, which you can just put in for a village or two or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Honorable. I just want to come back to you at this point. My question is, if you produce more than you need, isn't it an opportunity to cut the price of electricity? Or electricity, in your own opinion, especially when it's come to the rural population, shouldn't be a public good, especially that, it's something that is needed, for almost everyone, for the economy, for productivity, and also for the productivity of people in the rural area, for kids to study. There shouldn't, be an opportunity for a country, to cut the electricity price, to make it affordable.
Well, that's quite challenging because when the investors, can you hear me?
Maybe you should unmute yourself.
Yes, I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
Honorable, please
so I was saying that, yes, I was saying that it's quite a challenge because the investors, when they come in, they have what they call a power purchase agreement, which they sign with the government. So in the power purchase agreement, they state the price of the electricity that after they produce, how much the government's going to pay them for each is it kilowatt produced or megawatt produced here. So that means that even though we have excess, and that's the challenge, that the government has already committed to buying the electricity at a certain price. I think it's 0.5 cents per dollar. I'm not so sure, but there is a price that they have put there. They negotiate. So now, after they have that agreement, the government is obliged to buy that, but it buys it and then they cannot sell it, give it to anyone else, because the price that we have in the market cannot reduce because the cost of production is already high. For that case, what they've been looking at now is to see if they can sell it to another country. And that's part of the arguments within the East African community, because we may have more electricity, but they don't have enough in Congo. So, but we need to have transmission lines to take it there. Also in Burundi, they may need that. So there have been some negotiations, even with Uganda, to see if we can send some. We get some electricity from Uganda, but from another side, eastern part of Rwanda. But in Uganda, also they will need electricity from Rwanda because they don't have enough in another part which we share with them. So there have been some kind of negotiations that we can get from Uganda from this side, but also can send to Uganda from another side. But we have been having some political issues, but now those political issues are getting solved. I hope that once we have good relations as they are being worked on, then we can be able to solve that challenge. So it will not affect the prices. The prices will remain the same. They are quite high because the production cost is high. Yeah, but hopefully, when we have the big project like the Rusumo Falls Dam, that one which is being supported by the World Bank and it's in progress. Once that one is done, I hope maybe it can help. There will be more electricity. Maybe it will help to reduce the prices, but not at the moment. So right now, the government is advising all new investors to go in the rural areas. If they produce electricity, they should also see if they can take it there to the people so that it doesn't come on the grid. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me just come back to you, Giselle. You mentioned something very important on the affordability, Giselle, and I just wanted to ask you, as someone who is in the sector, what do you think about capping the electricity price so that at least for a number of years, so that at least people, the rural area knows that it won't increase? What do you think about such solution? Or maybe you have an alternative solution for to make electricity available to and affordable to everyone.
Yes, thank you. I mean, electricity is an essential. It is a primary need. Everyone should have electricity. That's my thinking. But still, also given the cost of producing or generating the electricity, it is not easy also for utilities. But what we can think of is maybe looking at the business models that are used for providing electricity in rural areas. We can do some rent-to-own business model. There is many ways we can focus on the business model of electrifying rural places, and also I think it will be very crucial to focus on the energy productive use. If we can focus on energy productive use, that will help to increase the economical power of rural area peoples, because they will be able to now to buy the electricity. I think not maybe going far, I can focus on the energy productive use and also looking at the business model, which will totally be different from the model that is being used in urban places. I mean, the business model focusing on the challenges and on the situation in rural areas.
Okay. No, thank you for your answer. We have one question from James Posey. He's asking, what is the current energy or electricity deficit in Rwanda? Who want to answer that question? Anyone?
Please come again.
What was the current energy or electricity deficit in Rwanda? I think Honorable already answered that. They are in surplus, so they don't have any deficit, if I'm correct.
Yeah, the deficit we have is on biomass. I mean, the electricity, we don't have a deficit in electricity because we have surplus. But that does not mean that we have electricity everywhere, as I mentioned, that we still have challenges in the rural areas that don't have electricity. And they're relying on solar, but it's expensive. So, but also we are relying a lot on biomass to cook our food, and even in the tea factories, they're using a lot of trees, wood. So it's a challenge that we are encouraging them to use biogas or even mostly biogas, like in the tea factories and the prisons. The prisons are using biogas because they have a lot of people, so they cannot have enough wood to cook their food or whatever. Yeah, so those challenges are there, but not on the electricity. So electricity, we hope that later on, maybe when the whole country is connected, then perhaps it will be much better. Yeah. So the biggest challenge is the connections, the connection lines, that we don't have enough connection lines throughout the whole country.
Okay, thank you so much. Kai, do you want to say something?
And maybe just to add on that one, obviously Rwanda as a smaller country is quite benefiting from having a network then with other countries. And at the moment there are processes on the way to finalize the interconnector with Burundi and so on with DRC. So to really then exchange energy when there is surplus, and then also get then maybe energy back when there is need for it. No? And obviously by extending also the transmission line system and then the distribution line system, also this then provides more rural homes with access to electricity, and then with an option to somehow maybe reduce the dependency on charcoal and wood and so on. Because at the end of the day, it's just a waste of very good resources to burn trees, no, just for the heat. I mean, there are better ways to do that than to do that in a small stove at your house, no? And therefore it's not very cost efficient.
I think the problem remains, Kai, the affordability, especially to people in the rural area. I think this is where really we need to find solution to make it affordable by capping, for example. Yeah, please go ahead.
And I think there is some move into that direction. I mean, if one sees how many hydropower projects are presently under preparation, they're obviously producing cheaper energy than the forms where electricity is coming from at the moment. I mean, if you look at the prices of heavy fuel oil or gas, I mean, this is nearly unaffordable, in particular now with the price peak after the wars in Europe. But even methane, with the development of the larger areas near the ABiQ, this is also reducing the price. No? So over time, one would hope that the prices are actually, the producing price of electricity actually going down. But at the moment, I think they're even subsidized to bring them to the level where they are. No?
Okay. Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, I would like to add on tapping on renewable energy. We know that renewable energies are
please go ahead.
Locally, which means that will reduce on the costs for importing petrol, oil, or other source of energy. So by generating electricity locally by using solar energy, for example, as one has really favorable climate for solar energy, that also could help to reduce to work on to reduce the cost of electricity. And also we know that okay, of course we still import the technology, of course, but still by putting much effort in renewable energies, that could help to reduce the price of electricity here in Rwanda, and also invest in research and development so that we can have the technology in Rwanda or in Africa, for example, that also could help to reduce the costs.
I like it when you mention about research and development. I just want to quickly ask Honorable, do you have a plan in the country to launch, invest? When I say invest, I think in terms of billions of dollars on the research facility that can, so that at least produce those materials needed for off-grid renewable energy infrastructure locally. Are you producing locally, or is it being imported at the moment?
Okay, thank you very much. As Giselle explained, we actually have a big plan on renewable energy, and there's, I think, a German company which has invested heavily on mounted Jerry. I think they are producing about maybe 10 megawatts, I think so, from solar. There's also another one in the Eastern Province. Anyway, I would say that at the moment we are importing everything. We are not yet in a way of making the local production. So if that said, I don't know if someone wants to invest in Rwanda. If someone could invest into production of solar panels, which could be affordable, that would be really good. And even other types of people are trying to think about wind. There could be also opportunity in wind energy. And yeah, so if someone could invest into that, there would be a big market. The government had reduced taxes on the solar equipment. So still there's tax waiver on that, if I'm not mistaken, so that it could be affordable here, but still the price is high. Sorry?
Saying solar equipment are tax exempted. They don't pay taxes. Solar
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but even though they don't pay taxes, still they are not affordable to the local people. That's the challenge. Yeah, so if we can have someone producing them here locally, it would be much better. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think that's good if they don't pay taxes. I think that will encourage company, to invest in the sector. Everyone, if you have any question, please just type your question. I will read it for you. If your question is addressed with specific panelists, just mention the name of the person next to your question. So, Giselle, I wanted to come back to you on the research and development. I think that that will be a good area, to in the future, in the long term, to make it affordable to everyone, especially to people in the rural area. What are your recommendations in that sense? What can the government, in your own opinion, do, to boost research and development in the area of energy in Rwanda that they are not doing right now?
Yes. Okay, we can see that recently there is much effort in renewable energy. There is, but we don't have a policy yet. I mean, policy could maybe help to guide, to have, I mean, when you want to have a research and development institution, you need to have guidelines, you need to have regulations and policies. So in my opinion, we can start from having a policy related to renewable energies. Focus on renewable energy. That will be one. Second, we have here universities. We have people who can help. I think we need also a partnership or a collaboration between education institution and also the government to help maybe to have, for example, a university graduates are doing some researches. They can focus more on renewables. They can get some sectors from the government where they know that this sector is crucial, this sector is very, I mean, it is needed, so that the universities could put much effort into that. But also we need an institution really for renewable and for doing research and development on renewables. That will help, but also we need money. That need money. By having a policy and also by having a strong partnership and collaboration between the government and the private sector and also institutions, educational institutions, will help to know what we really need and where we can put much effort. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, Kai, do you have something to say concerning research and development in Rwanda? You have suggestion?
Yeah, I think, I mean, this is a point on the direction Giselle was guiding, and also as the Honorable is very much the way to go, no? Because, for example, solar panels have been on the market for quite some time, no? And they're not that difficult like other technology things. So it should be actually possible to find regional or provider in Rwanda who somehow invest into that one and create actually facilities there to produce solar panels. And I think that would really change the whole price segments there, no? Because at the moment everything is imported, so obviously the prices are high, and the special challenge of Rwanda as a landlocked country, obviously, with all the, even if some of the government is not charging taxes on it. I mean, you have the transport costs through Kenya and through Uganda. So obviously, everything is quite expensive when it arrives somehow in Rwanda. No? And by breaking that, I think one could make it really affordable for local people, as you can see in other countries. No? For example, I have some projects in Western Africa, and in Senegal, there is some production of solar panels. No? And suddenly you can even take them to rather poor rural settlements, and they can produce their electricity from that, no? Because the prices are significantly going down of producing solar panels. So that would be a direction to go, I think, for research and development, because it would really help local people to produce their own energy and somehow link it also into larger facilities and so on.
Okay, thank you so much. We have one more question. Corporations are used to paying premium rate. They indirectly subsidize the rate of individual household. Is enough being done to attract or develop the corporate or industrial player to establish businesses in Rwanda? Anyone? Honorable, maybe you want to answer this one?
I haven't understood the question, sorry.
Okay, I can read it to you again. Corporations are used to paying premium rate. No, that's a statement. Another statement is they indirectly subsidize the rate of individual household. So is enough being done to attract or develop the corporate player to establish businesses in Rwanda? You know, for example, you mentioned that you import most of those technologies. So the question is enough being done to attract or develop a corporate or industrial player to establish business in Rwanda? If
yes, we do have.
Why are you still importing?
I was going to say that yes, we have a good law. I think you've seen that what the World Bank has ranked Rwanda as one of the best places to do business in. So they have what they're ranking what they call a doing business report. So we have a new investment code which gives incentives to investors. So I think anyone who wants to do a business here in Rwanda, as long as before I think it used to be like a investment of $10 million or above. So if you have a plan like that, it doesn't mean that you must have all that money at once, but you must have a plan that you are going to invest maybe at least $10 million or more, maybe in 5 years. And we do have, then they do have a tax incentives, tax holiday maybe for five years. We'd also have a special economic zone where you get land, the government will give you land where you can establish your factory and you start, then you have a tax holiday. But you're obliged to employ also the locals, not just bring foreign experts. So in your plan, you have to show how you're going to give some jobs to the local community. And then, of course, you can bring in the expatriates to do the work. So there are so many companies here in the free economic zone.
Okay.
And there are many others investing in the energy sector, in the tourism sector. Even if you want to build hospitals.
Just want to ask one quick question. Are investors aware of all this?
Sorry?
No, please go ahead. I just wanted to ask, are investors aware of all this plan or all these advantages?
Yes, they are aware, example, because Rwanda has been ranked.
Economic zone or, you know, the land that the government can give.
I think those who want to do business in Rwanda, they are aware. I can share you can Rwanda Development Board, it's called rdb.rw. They have a website where they give all the details. So the law was revised in Parliament last year, the new law, which has so many incentives. Actually, it even allows the local investors to invest and they can still get the tax holiday. So before it used to be foreigners who would get tax holidays, but now we have revised the law even for local people who want to invest more in the country, they can also have that opportunity. So I would say that you check the World Bank doing business report. I think Rwanda is, I think, only second to Mauritius. So we're either number 1 or number 2 in Africa. So we have the best environmental climate for all investors in Africa.
Thank you for answering that question.
And I have to say goodbye.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time, and we really appreciate your intervention. Thank you so much. We hope to have you soon.
Thank you so much.
Another opportunity, because we run a webinar once a month, every last Thursday of each month at the exact same time. Thank you.
I'll be glad to join you again. Yeah,
thank you so much.
And Giselle, we will recap. I'll give my phone number to him, then you can contact me so we can talk. So I'll send you my phone number so you can give it to Giselle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, too. Bye-bye. That's fine. Giselle, I just want to come back. Yeah, please go ahead. You want to say something?
I want to say something on that previous question.
Yes, go ahead.
As the Honorable explained, in Rwanda, we have a friendly environment for doing business and for investing in the country. That's totally right. But maybe some corporates are having issues maybe to invest in Rwanda, because we still have some uncertainties, especially if they want to come and invest in the renewable energy sector. We still have uncertainties, like we don't have a policy specifically for renewable energies. And by having such a policy, by having a focus mainly on that, maybe to remove those uncertainties and to help people, investors to feel free come and invest in the country. And also we'll talk on also infrastructures, because you can, if you want to provide electricity, if you want to do such a big project, you need infrastructures. In urban places, we do have enough, but a bit far away in rural places, I think we need also those infrastructures. We are doing well as Rwanda. Actually, I'm not in the government. I'm not talking about. I'm not advocating for the government. I'm just an engineer, but I'm also passionate Rwandese. So
okay, that's okay.
Developing infrastructure.
It's okay to love your country. It's okay to love your country. Yes.
Thank you. Developing also infrastructures on that side in rural areas. It's hope investors also to know that, okay, things are ready. We are ready to, things are okay now. We are ready to come and invest in the country. Thank you.
Yes, still, I have one question. You know, if the government have land that they can give for free to private investors that want to invest in renewable energy, if you have special economic zones, if you have zero taxes, still the question is, why are you still importing almost everything, technology from outside? I feel like there isn't enough publicity being done on all those benefits or advantages that you are offering. So my question to you is, do you feel like the government is not doing enough to let private investors know about those benefits so that they can come and establish factories in Rwanda?
Yes, thank you very much. On my behalf, I think the government is trying, really, but we have to know that this sector it's a new sector. We need to acknowledge that it's a new sector, and also Rwanda is it's a baby country. Noting that we had a genocide in 1994, we said it's 28 years. You can't focus on all sectors at once. So I think we need time, and we need time for people to get to know Rwanda. We need time for people to get more interested in Rwanda. Regarding the advertisement, I think informations are there on website, as Rwanda is really focusing on being a digitalized country. You can find all this information on, especially RDB, Rwanda Development Boards, Rwanda Development, yes, I think it's boards. There is all those information, but still it takes time. It's a process for investors to get this faith of investing in Rwanda. I wish we can do also better by having a specific focus on energy sector. Maybe that's a bit better.
Yeah, Giselle, I just want to ask you a quick question. That question keeps coming. What is the population or household access rate of electricity in Rwanda?
The access rate? Sorry? You talked about
the population access rate, yes, of electricity in Rwanda.
Yes.
Do you know?
For now, yes. Yes. Yeah, for now, we have around 56% of electrification. And of course, the big rate is in urban places. Yes, and also off-grid, and also grid has around 54% of it, while the other percent is for off-grid.
Thank you very much. Kai, I just want to come back to you. I just want to ask you kind of the same question. I feel like, the country have good policies in place. When you look at the economic zones, special economic zone, you look at zero rate, tax, you look at, land that can be given to the private investors. My question remains, is it that the government don't make enough publicity, so that today they import almost everything they need, for example, infrastructure that they need to build a solar, panel system. Or what do you feel might be the problem? What's the challenge? Kai?
Yeah, I think, obviously the whole COVID situation for the last 2-3 years was quite challenging, because you could see that not only in Rwanda, but a lot of other countries as well, that there was limited appetite to invest in countries, because it was difficult to do research on the ground and so on. So people, or somehow international companies, mostly didn't really do that, no? So that obviously is one of the things which delayed things. I think Rwanda is doing quite well and is well perceived in the international arena as a country which is very stable, where somehow the investment is secured, where the government is supporting things. I think obviously there are other countries which are somehow also trying to offer it. So there is quite a bit of competition from different sides, no? I think Rwanda is quite well placed in it, and one just needs to wait a bit. Somehow things are materializing, and then now where the COVID situation is over, actually then use a bit more energy to promote Rwanda as a production market for example, renewable energy facilities like solar plants or wind turbines and so on. No? I think there are really opportunities there, and just somehow unfortunate that everything was delayed by 3 years, but when maybe nothing was happening. Obviously, also this challenge which was there with the border with Uganda was also a bit of a hassle for some people and so on. No?
Okay, thank you, Kai. Giselle, do you have a wind energy in Rwanda? Do you take advantage of wind to derive electricity?
Yeah, thank you very much. Rwanda has a lot of renewable energies, renewable resources, but I think wind is not that much interesting, because technically we need maybe a 4 meter per square. I mean, that's the speed, the wind speed that is technically, that is maybe required to have to generate electricity from wind. So in Rwanda, as it's a hilly country, and given also other factors, the wind is not that much interesting. However, we have hydro enough. For now, around 50% of electricity generated in Rwanda come from hydro. And also we have solar, which is quite significant. But we have also biomass and other sorts of energy, but wind so far is not that much interesting. But the researchers and studies are being conducted to know, to be sure of what we have or what we don't have.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that, social prosperity, or like I said earlier, human development and economic growth, is very conditional to the supply of energy. I think that in Rwanda at the moment, it's much more about transition to green energy, and that by 2030 or 35, that the country will have improved the energy mix, to improve the share of renewable in the energy mix of the country. I think that we are coming very soon to the end of this webinar. I want all our listeners to please ask questions. We dedicated the last 15 to 10 minutes to question, 10 minutes to 15 minutes to ask 2 questions. So if you have a question to our panelists, please just write your question. If you don't have any question at the moment, we'll just carry on. Oh, I think there's a question that just came in. Oh, James again. Thank you, James, for asking question. James is saying, interestingly, at 56% access and the country also having surplus, why not focus on unlocking opportunities to ensure that the surplus can be accessed? Is infrastructure the only barrier? And what will be the rationale for investing more into energy other than energy security? Kai or Giselle, each one of you can take time to answer that one. It's a good question, I think.
Yep. I mean, just from my side, I mean, obviously the country has secured quite significant amounts of funds to enhance the distribution network. No? I mean, transmission and distribution networks. There's nearly $1 billion somehow earmarked, $1 billion earmarked for that. Again, the problem was somehow that this project didn't really move forward as planned because of the whole COVID situation. It was difficult for contractors to come in and move on that. But there is quite a bit of money actually available to enhance the distribution network in the country. And that is, I think, something which is really happening over the next years, whether one then can deliver on the high expectation that everybody is connected. Obviously, this might be taking a bit longer than anticipated, but it's something which is moving in that direction. It's significantly faster than in other countries in the area. So I think the country is doing quite well and is well prepared in that direction.
Giselle, what's your answer? Your comment to that question?
Yes, the surplus on generated electricity is because it's not being consumed. And when you do the comparison between the demand and the supply, is where we are getting the surplus. I think that's more. I think, as he said, the infrastructure is one of the problem. As also we are having losses on the transmission distribution, and I mean infrastructure is the main part. And also let's note that electrification is very expensive. As you want to lay a line from the generation transmission to the end user is quite expensive, to the extent that the government is seeing that it's not quite easy. I think also the economic zone was one of the solutions to reduce that, so that the supplies could be sent to the economic zone. I think the economic zone, we have industries there, which means we know that by doing dispatching, that place will be supplied, will have enough electricity. So I think the infrastructure is also the problem, and also the cost of electrification, because I can say that also Rwanda, the cost that we pay for electricity is less than the cost of generating electricity, because we are not paying the realized costs. There is subsidies on that also. That's a lot for the utility to be able to supply that electricity. Thank
you. Just a quick question, Giselle. How much is the kilowatt of electricity now? How much do a average Rwandan pay? In dollar or?
Yes, in dollar. I think in East Africa we have the expensive cost. It's around, I think it's more than 15 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
15 cents.
Yeah.
I think that is still unaffordable especially to people who live below the poverty line. That's again something. Yes, that's again something that I'm struggling to understand. How can a country has a surplus, and still struggle to make sure that the electricity is not affordable to people in the rural area? But we're here to make proposition, to make suggestion for possible solution. I think that.
Yeah. Hugo, maybe just to pick up on that.
First of all, electricity price should be current development, like you mentioned earlier, Giselle. And I also think the country, and also the government, to make sure investors are aware of all those benefits that have been mentioned by the Honorable and you guys, and even by Kai, all those benefits. The country should make a lot of effort in that sense. Kai, do you have one last comment? We are at the end of our webinar before we close.
Yeah, I think, just what you mentioned, that at the moment the prices are very high, and somehow that obviously they need to go down. I think that's also considered, because at the moment the prices are high because most energy is coming from very expensive sources. No, I mean, if one looks where the energy is coming from at the moment, it's mostly still diesel, heavy oil, gas, which is then all imported and is produced there. So it is available, so you don't have some unstable networks like in other countries, and you even have some sometimes surplus, but obviously at a very high price. And by this move towards renewable, towards hydro, towards solar, towards methane, and so on, one is reducing the prices and then also somehow making it more affordable for the rural population. Obviously, it takes a bit of time because one is now at the peak of doing all these investments, and before somehow then getting into the affordable area, it takes a bit of time, but I think it's a good move in that direction.
Interesting, interesting. Giselle, do you have one last word before we close?
Yes, yeah, I would like to add to what Mr. Kai said. The fact that we are also a landlocked country plays on the fact that the electricity is quite expensive, and but I mean, we are aware that the price is high, and also we are importing everything. But I think with time things will be better. Yeah. And also for investors, for investors, I mean, Rwandese, there is some bias, but I would like to say that Rwanda is the best country where you can start your business, you can invest your money. We have more advantages to what we said here. Maybe I will share the link where you can see many advantages that we have in Rwanda, so that you can invest in Rwanda, especially for those who want to invest in research and development. Maybe I think we can help. I think there
okay.
is many resources to tap into. Thank you.
Okay. Giselle, we have one quick question for you. It's from Taban. He said it's rumored that Rwanda is good at attracting international investors in the country, but when land in the country, you don't know. Basically, he wants to know. I don't understand this question myself. Maybe I'll come back to that. Another question say, why not the national power utility absorb the surplus for distribution, or introduce a rebate for companies generating excess power and upload to the power utility? Basically, this Mr. James wants to know why not the national power utility absorb the surplus for distribution. Giselle?
I think I'll let Mr. Kai respond to that.
No, thanks. I mean, it's mostly a technical problem at the moment because some of the network is not that large developed, and that's one of the elements where there's enhancement at the moment, because you have to have quite a sophisticated network to somehow put power in at one side and so on and so on. So it's a bit technical issue there.
Totally agree with you.
But they're working on it, no? So I mean, it's anticipated that this should be much done better.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Kai. Thank you very much for making time for today's webinar. Thank you to Giselle for making time for today's webinar.
Thank you, Hugo, for organizing this. This was very interesting. Very good.
Yeah, this is a webinar powered by ABiQ. ABiQ is a company-based data company, business intelligence company based in Dubai, also in South Africa. So basically what we do is that we have data on pretty much every country in Africa and the Middle East in every sector of the economy and the society, power and infrastructure sector, construction, you name it. So basically, we are a platform. To have access to the platform, there's a premium that we should pay, which is very accessible to single large organization. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Guy, for everything and for making time for today. And I thank you for all of you who have attended today. We just want to say thank you to you.